Hey folks, this is an introductory video to the longer part 1 and part 2 assembly and initial quality review of this King Canada 10-ton hydraulic shop press. I went through what it was like to assemble and were all the parts there and all of that kind of stuff. Primarily because when I was researching these presses of this size, I found a lot of complaints about how they were initially constructed and really, how easy they were to put together and what the instructions were like. So that was the intent of making those first 2 videos, and then I would follow it up with what it's like to actually use. So I watched those videos after I made them, and frankly, they bored the shit out of me. So I thought for anybody that just wants kind of the quick and dirty, what do I think about it out of the box, I would do that here. And then if you're interested in seeing every single nut and bolt go in, well, that's awesome. I appreciate it. You can definitely watch those. But if you're just looking for my, or an assessment from somebody who's bought one of these and what it's like to receive it and put it together, that's what this shorter video is about. So I talk about, the different units in the longer videos that I looked at, and there's a, short story about how I finally settled on this one. Basically, the only other King tool that I've had the opportunity to use is this little compressor here that a friend gave to me, and I've been so impressed by its build quality, how quiet it is, how powerful it is for the size, and all of that stuff that I thought, okay, I'm going to give King an opportunity to impress me on the press. So the box arrived within, I think, a day of when they said it would. I think they quoted us 6 to 10 day delivery, and it came on the 7th day. You can see here it's imported by them. They don't build it themselves in Canada. I'm assuming it's made in China, but perhaps it's made in the US or South America or Mexico or something. It doesn't say anywhere that I can find where it's actually constructed. Most of these things are built offshore, or not assembled, but designed and built offshore, and sometimes the quality suffers because these things aren't terribly expensive. Most of these presses run between $250 and $350. This one was on the higher end of that. I think it was $360, $370, but I got it on sale for I think $280 off of their website. So that's sort of the cost and delivery thing. Guy showed up with a truck, dropped the pallet on my driveway. Yes, that comes on a pallet because it weighs 110 pounds, which will sort of surprise me, but it is, we're talking some pretty heavy duty steel here, so that explains why it's so heavy. So onto the construction process, or the assembly process, and the first thing I noticed, which was really a nice surprise, is these instructions are terrific. I mean, there's an initial glitch in that when you open the English side, you get French instructions. But I think that's just the way this booklet got stapled together. So anyway, you flip it over to the other side, and those complaints that I've read, especially of the Princess Auto and Canadian Tire, and I think Home Depot presses, of poor instructions and difficulty understanding what they are talking about. Now, this is not a particularly complex piece of machinery. Anybody that buys one of these to use it is going to be more than capable of figuring out how it goes together, even without the instructions. But my assessment is King has done an excellent job in this regard. I'll see, we've got French there and English on this side. So, aside from those little sort of quirks, nice big clear photograph of the thing. Nice big exploded diagram. Every part is numbered. And really, very straightforward, easy to understand, 7 steps to put the thing together and prime it and get it ready for use. So that would be a huge thumbs up for me for King, because they either invested in a technical writer or insisted that their supplier put together some clear instructions. So full marks there for these guys. I found putting it together that, you know, sometimes what can happen is you'll find holes don't line up when you get some of this offshore stuff, or there's missing bolts or nuts, or you know, welds aren't square or completed properly, and I found none of those issues on this. Every single part that they mentioned in that instruction was in the bag, which is great. A couple of things came pre-assembled, so once I figured out, you know, where it was, for instance, the little saddle here shows in the instructions as having to be installed, but it came installed, so that's fine. Saves you a couple of steps, and generally I was really quite pleased. I've bought some stuff for my tractor that's made out of similar heavy gauge steel, and the holes were off and they weren't the right size for the fittings, and generally were crap. So very, very pleasantly surprised. So that's the second 10 out of 10 here, or maybe, I don't know, 9.5, 9.8 out of 10. There's 2 or 3 minor issues which I don't expect impact the operation of this. First one is this top plate you see here at the back, it sort of cups up ever so slightly and doesn't meet the frame there, right? That didn't seem to affect how square this is. I mean, the bottom plate here is much thicker and is definitely, you know, was cut out properly. You know, I was sort of doing a kind of a quick and dirty, you know, squareness check here, and to me, that thing is plunger is absolutely square to the frame, which is really the key thing when you want to use this. If it's not pushing straight down, you're going to score surfaces and bugger up your bearings or whatever. So anyway, very small nit to pick there. I could have heated that or banged it flat on an anvil or something before installing it, but I don't think it was going to be an issue. One other thing, this pump unit that you bolt to the side, you can see doesn't sit precisely flat here. Originally I thought perhaps the fitting was bent, and then I considered that, well, maybe this hasn't been actually rotated or tightened all the way on the cylinder. So I've tried to move that, and I haven't been able to so far, but I haven't spent a lot of time on it. Anyway, other very minor issue there. Probably the final in terms of, you know, parts quality would be the grill. First of all, I'm impressed that it comes with one, because some of the others don't, or you have to pay extra for it. The mesh here, it's a little wavy. There's a couple of sharp edges, but that's easily filed and taken care of. One thing to note about this is the reinforcing gussets in the corner are only on one side. So when you install this thing, have the reinforcing facing you, because of course the point of the cage is that if something blasted out under pressure into your face, you want the gauge to, or the cage to catch the part. If you had this turned the other way around, the only thing holding the cage in are small spot welds, and if the pressure was great enough or the part heavy enough, it might just blast the covering out at you too. So when you install it, have these on the outside. They're not shown in the instructions, and the instructions don't sort of specify which way in it goes, but it's something I just noticed when assembling it. The other very small issue I noticed was, although it ships with Teflon tape around some of the fittings, they don't provide it or tell you to use it for other ones. So for instance, the gauge here did not come with Teflon tape. And then this sort of quick connect thumb screw, the knurled thing here, does not have Teflon tape on it either. So I assembled it without using it because they didn't reference it. If I start to notice leaks, I'll just add it. So that really is all I wanted to say quickly. Was I'm really pleased with the value for money, how quickly King shipped it, the completeness of parts, the you know, higher than usual quality, way higher than usual quality and attention paid to instructions. So when I actually use this thing to deal with the bearings in the rear diff on my vehicle, I can report on how easy it is to use. One of the things I really like, and you don't see this in all of them, is these two sandwiched plates, once loosened, allows the piston to move back and forth. So if you have a piece of work that isn't perfectly symmetrical and you need to put the piston to one side or the other more, you can do that. Some of the other ones, the piston's bolted right into the frame, and there is no opportunity to put it in other positions. So there you have it. Still ran to 10 plus minutes, but that's better than 30, I think. If you want to see how it goes together, by all means. Not going to stop you doing that, and hopefully this is of some use to you. Thanks so much.